Let's take a look at question number 10 from section 4.3. And for this problem, I need to find the number m so that the line passes through the point 4, -2, and 1, comma m, and has a slope of -5. All right, so these are some of these classic questions where you got to find one of the coordinates when you're given the slope. So let's go ahead and start off with the slope formula that's kind of given out in class. So I know slope is rise over run, which is a difference in your y values over a difference in your x values. Okay, then ask yourself, what is the slope given in this problem? Well, the slope is -5, so this will become -5 here, equals 2. Now, what's the value of y2? Well, the value of y2 is going to be m, so m minus, and then what's the value of y1? Well, the value of y1 is going to be -2, so bracket -2 here, all divided by the value of x2, and the value of x2, if I use my pink marker, is going to be 1. So 1 minus, and what's the value of x1? Well, the value of x1 is going to be 4. So 1 minus 4. All right, so you're plugging those numbers and, those coordinates into your slope formula. And let's go ahead and simplify this. So this is -5 equals to m. Now I have a minus sign and a minus sign, so minus and minus gives you a plus, so m plus 2 divided by, and what's 1 minus 4? Well, 1 minus 4 is going to be -3. All right, so we've seen these kind of equations in class, so we need to solve for m here. I have a -3 on the bottom, so I can move that and multiply that with the -5. So -5 times -3 is positive 15 equals to m plus 2. And then I can subtract 2 from both sides. 15 minus 2 is going to be 13, so 13 equals to m. All right, so questions 11, 12, 13, and 14 are very similar to question number 10. We're just changing the numbers, and the rest of the question has to do with a little bit of algebra work. So question number 11, a similar problem. I need to find the number n so that the line passes through the point n, comma 2, and -3, -1 has a slope of 4. All right, so step number 1, let's go ahead and label our coordinates here. So sorry, that's not y1. This is going to be x1. So x1. And this is y1, and this is going to be x2, and this will be y2, and my slope is 4. All right, so I know that my slope is equal to rise over run, which is a difference in your y values, all over a difference in your x values. Okay, so my slope here is 4, so let's put the 4 in there. And what's the value of y2? Well, the value of y2 is -1, so -1. Minus, and what's the value of y1? Well, the value of y1 is going to be 2, so 1 minus 2, all divided by, and then what's the value of x2? Well, the value of x2 is going to be -3, so -3, minus, and then what's the value of x1? Well, the value of x1 is n, so n will be here. All right, so a slightly different kind of setup from the previous problem where our variable is now on the denominator. Let's go ahead and simplify this. So 4 equals 2. Now what's -1 minus 2? Well, that's going to be -3, all divided by -3 minus n. Okay, after that, let's take this whole thing on the denominator here, the -3 minus n, and let's move it by multiplying with the top left-hand corner there. So 4 times all of that. So that'll be 4 times all of that, which is -3 minus n. And then that will equal to -3 on the right-hand side. Okay, and then after that, let's go ahead and distribute on the left-hand side. So if I distribute this will be -12 minus 4n equals to -3. Then after that, let's go ahead and solve for the n variable. Let's add 12 to both sides. All right, so if I do that, the 12's cancel, so -4n equals to -3 plus 12, which is going to be 9. And then after that, I can divide both sides by -4. And my final answer is n equals to -9 over 4. And that's it for question number 11. Okay, moving on to question number 12. Once again, another similar problem here. This time I'm given the points x, comma 2, -3, comma 6. But this time the line has the same slope as a line through the point 7, comma -3 and 1, comma -5. Okay, so this is an interesting problem because in the previous questions like 10 and 11, they tell us the slope, This time we have to figure out the slope based on those 2 points. Okay, so let's find out the slope from those 2 points there. So the slope is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, so what is y2 in this case? Well, y2 is going to be 5. So 5 minus, and then what's the value of y1? Well, the value of y1 is going to be negative 3. So negative 3 in a bracket, all divided by, then what's the value of x2? Well, the value of x2 is going to be negative 1. So negative 1 minus, and what's the value of x1? Well, the value of x1 is 7. All right, so if I do that, this will be 5. And then a minus and a minus gives you a plus, so 5 plus 3, all divided by negative 8. All right, and this gives us 8 over negative 8, which equals to negative 1. So my slope here is negative 1. Okay, so that's part 1. I need to find the slope for those 2 points. So let me just erase all this. And I know that my slope equals to negative 1 here. Okay. Great. All right, so let's read the rest of the problem here. Basically, the question is saying a line through the point x comma 2 and negative 3 comma 6 has the same slope as this point here and that point there. All right, so let's go ahead and set up our slope formula one more time, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so we just found out the slope, right? The slope here is going to be negative 1, right? So let's go ahead and plug that in, negative 1. Okay, and that's it for that. Equals 2. Now our goal is I need to find the value of this x value right there, right? So now we're going to take the coordinates here and plug them into our slope formula. Okay. All right, so let's do this here. What's the value of y2? Well, the value of y2 is going to be 6 now, right? So 6. So 6 minus, and what's the value of y1? Well, the value of y1 now is 2. So 6 minus 2 all over. And then what's the value of x2? Well, the value of x2 is going to be negative 3. So negative 3 minus, and what's the value of x1? Well, the value of x1 is just this x value there, so that's just x. All right, so there you go. That's how you set up this particular equation here. So this will be negative 1 equals 2. And what's 6 minus 2? Well, 6 minus 2 is going to be 4, all divided by negative 3 minus x. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And then after that, you want to take the negative 3 minus x and you want to move that to the top left. So the negative 1 remains, but the negative 3 minus x, the part in green there, you want to multiply that with the negative 1. So negative 3 minus x all in brackets, that's how you multiply the binomial by the negative 1. And then we have just a positive 4 on the right hand side there. All right, let's go ahead and distribute this. So negative 1 times negative 3 is 3, and negative 1 times negative x is plus x equals to 4. All right, and after that, we just solve for x. So let's subtract 3 from both sides, and then x would equal to 1. All right, and that's it for question number 12. Okay, let's do number 13. 13 is very similar to question number 12. Same problem, just different numbers here. So I have a line that goes through this point, 5 comma negative 3 and 4 comma y, and that same line has the same slope as a line through these 2 points right here, and I want to find the value of y, which is this part right here. Okay, so since it has the same slope as the green coordinates, let's go ahead and find the slope based on the green coordinates there. So slope equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so what's the value of y2? Well, the value of y2 is just 1 here, so 1 minus, and what's the value of y1? Well, the value of y1 is now 4, divided by, and then what's the value of x2? Well, the value of x2 is just 1, so 1 minus, and then what's the value of x1? Well, the value of x1 is negative 2, so bracket negative 2. Okay, and let's go ahead and calculate the numerator. So 1 minus 4 is going to be negative 3. And then I have a negative and a negative, so that's going to be 1 plus 2. And then I have a negative 3 on the top and a 3 on the bottom, so negative 3 over 3 is going to be negative 1. All right, that's great. So my slope there is going to be negative 1. Okay, so let me just erase all this. Let me just rewrite this over here. I know the slope here is equal to negative 1. Okay, let's take a look at the rest of question number 13 here. Now we're going to solve for the missing variable. Let me just kind of erase all this. All right, so remember, the goal of this question is the line through this point, 5, -3 and 4, y has the same slope as all of this. And our goal is I need to find this y value. Okay, so I know that slope equals to rise over run, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so we know that the slope from these 2 points is the same slope as the points over here. So we know that slope is going to be -1. So that -1 can replace this slope as -1. Okay, now we're done with all that. Equals to, all right, what's the value? Let me get my pink marker here. What's the value of y2 now? Okay, so the value of y2 is going to be this y right there. So that's going to be y minus, then what's the value of y1? Well, the value of y1 is going to be -3. So bracket -3. All divided by, and what's the value of x2? Well, the value of x2 is going to be 4. So 4 minus, and then what's the value of x1 here? Well, the value of x1 is 5. So 4 minus 5. Then after that, we just got to solve this, and there's a minus and a minus. So this will be y plus 3 all divided by, and what's 4 minus 5? Well, 4 minus 5 is -1. Then I also have a -1 over here on the left-hand side. Okay, this is looking pretty good now. So here's a -1. I can get rid of that by multiplying that with the red -1. So -1 times -1 is going to be +1. All right, and after that, I can subtract 3 from both sides. And let me get my blue marker here. So y is on the right-hand side, and 1 minus 3 is going to be -2. So y equals to -2 on the left-hand side there. All right, and that's it for question number 13. Okay, finally question number 14 here. The line through x, y. And okay, this one's a bit different here. X minus 2, 5 has a slope of -4, determine y. All right, so this question is a little bit different from questions 12 and 13. However, the setup is still the same. We still write out our slope formula, which is rise over run, which is a difference in your y values divided by a difference in your x values. And the question tells us that the slope has a value of -4. So this changes into -4 equals 2. Now, what's your y2 value now? Your y2 value is now 5, right? So this is going to be 5 minus, and then what is your y1 value? Well, your y1 value is just a y, right? So that becomes a y. Divided by, and then what is your x2 value? This is the part where you have to be careful here. Your x2 is actually all of this, x minus 2. So x minus 2, and then minus, and then what is your x1 value? Your x1 value is just x. So there's an x over here. So take a look at this expression right here. We have more variables in our expression, but take a look at the denominator here, right? So here's an x minus x. What is x minus x? Well, x minus x, those will just cancel off, giving you just -2 on the denominator. And then on the numerator, you still have 5 minus y, and on the left-hand side, 5 minus y, and on the left-hand side, you have -4. All right, so now we're back into a similar situation where we can now solve this equation. So this -2 will multiply with that -4. So that's going to be 8 equals to 5 minus y. Okay, from here on, okay, let's just subtract 5 from both sides. So 8 minus 5 is going to be 3 equals to -y. And then how do I get rid of that negative sign? Well, you divide both sides by -1. And you get -3 equals to y. And that's your final answer for that particular problem. Okay, so that concludes this homework video guide for section 4.3.